Tonight is December the 1st, 2021, and I've got some things that I think the old ham radio operators and hopefully some new ones will enjoy. I have come into possession of two of these guys right here. The old timers will know this as a Collins 30S-1. And look at this beauty right here. A Henry 2K. This thing runs a pair of 400Zs in it. They are both just in beautiful condition. Well, they are now because I put them back together. None of them worked when I got them. And the deal was, one of these is mine to keep for repairing this one. This is the second one. And this one. And I've actually completed it. I thought about making videos of the completion of the process of it and everything, but I don't think that's necessary. There are a few videos out there on the internet about these gorgeous units, but I'll show you briefly what I've discovered, what I did, and we'll go from there. Okay, well, I've got the front cover off of it right now, of course. The cover's over here. Key and all. They're complete. They weren't complete when I got them. They were missing a few parts here and there, like the plate choke. I don't remember exactly what all they were missing. Significant things, but whatever. Here's something that I was a little bit unaware of. I've got a light here. I'm going to turn this on. I hope this video works and it's not overwhelming. But right down here, if you can see these wires with the black tar-looking stuff on it, that's actually I used some cement. I gotta show you that cement that I've got. This is actually important. I use a product called Goop a lot, and Goop is really good stuff. But if you want something that'll really hold it, try this right here. This is called Loctite Pl3 Premium. It says it's 3 times stronger, I guess, than something like, it says than what? Than ordinary adhesive. You know, something like liquid nails. This stuff is dynamite. You got to be kind of careful with this. The Goop, well, there went that. Goop is a, I don't have any out right now to show you. It's spelled G-O-O-P. It's a silicone stuff. And you can stick things together, just anything to anything. And if it's something hard surface to a hard surface, like metal to metal, well, it'll stick and it won't let go. But you can, with a little bit of effort, not too bad, you can pull it off. I use it to stick capacitors and what have you, to chassis, etc. But let me show you here. Okay, I want to make it as original as possible. But those places down there, the high voltage wires, these high voltage wires right here become very, very brittle. They become so brittle that if you try to bend them, they actually will snap off and even break the wire inside, so you have to be very careful with it. Let me lay this down right here and I'll show you. This one right here, see, is very, very stiff right there. I mean, that thing's like a rock. But I spliced it in right here using some solid copper core. Here it is right here. This is spark plug wire. Brand new. Made in USA spark plug wire. Good stuff. Anyway, that's how I repaired it that needed repair. I used original 3B28s. Yes, indeed, I know that there are solid state replacements for it, but I have plenty of them. I have 8 or 10 solid state replacements, and I put them in here. They work perfectly, but so do the original 3B28s, or you can put 866s in here. I'm not trying to update it. I'm not trying to mod it. I hate that term, mod. Anyway, what you do have to do over here is you do have to replace all of the electrolytic capacitors in it, so be prepared for that. And after that, that's well, you need to replace a bunch of the diodes. If you can see back there in the corner, I can't point at it with the light in my hand, but you see those little red things to the left of that little tube back there? I can zoom in right here. Yeah, see what I did right there? Maybe you think, oh yeah, you should have done better than that. Well, sometimes you got to be. There's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness. And to be effective, you can make it the way I wanted it right there. But to be like really, you know, getting down into it. On the other one, what I did is I pulled those 3 units out right there, those 3 little red. You only see 2 of them. There's a tube in the middle. There's a third one behind there. I pulled them out and put a terminal board in there. But these I just cut loose and I used those existing ones as terminal points. That one on the left, of course, is just completely floating. Anyway, you got to replace all of those old, I don't know what kind of rectifiers those are. You got to replace anything that's selenium. But if it's already a silicone rectifier like the one in 4004, 4005 or whatever they use in there, they're okay. The screen supply diodes are okay. The screen supply capacitors are all bad. All of the electrolytic capacitors in it were bad, but there's really not that many. There's like 6 or 8. Okay? I mean, look at that choke back there. Man, isn't that a magnificent thing? It's 8 Henry, 600 milliamps, 4,000 volts. Wow, I mean, that is some serious iron. And the capacitors, the big filter capacitors over there underneath this one. And here are the primary leads and what have you. And again, the 3V28, there's its filament transformer. You have to be careful with these wires coming out of it because they may be very brittle. But you know what? You can't make everything perfect. Sometimes when you restore this old vintage stuff, this one was probably made around 1959 or 60, as its serial number is 206. So this is the first one, you know. This is one of the first group. The later ones used a different transformer connections down here. I think they do use some terminal connections coming out of the transformer. I guess they found out pretty quick that these old rubber type of high voltage wires age pretty quickly. Well, that's what it is inside. One of the things you better be prepared to do is to pull this unit right here out. There's 2 screws here, there's 3 screws here, and there's 2 in the back. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's not fun. But you got to pull this thing out and change all of those diodes and capacitors, and that's what it boils down to. See, like those 2 diodes right there. See, those 2 are silicone, so I did not replace them because I don't need it. Replacing something that doesn't need replacing doesn't improve anything, and that's just the way I look at life. There you go. I like to keep things as original as possible, but at the same time I want it to last another 20, 30, 40 years, you know, at least as long as I'm going to live again. Well, whatever. Okay, now we come up here to the top, and you got to look down inside it. Got to get a screwdriver out here. I'm never really prepared to make a video. I do all this by the seat of my pants. I bet you guys would never guess that, huh? Oh, I've got to tell you something about the safety switches in this thing that is just wonderful. Okay, let's get the light again. I know it's a little overwhelming, but at least you'll be able to see. There's the blower assembly. Actually, the rubber mounts on this one are pretty good. The ones on the one that I got are a little wacky, but it's still very, very quiet. There's the Force EX1000. This is the one that came out of the one that I have, and it is perfectly good. Here's the one that came out of this one as I received it, and it has a little bit of a strange screen supply performance, but it actually has full output, so it actually works quite good. It's not defective, but this one works great. Now, all of these have a unit in there that I don't think I'm going to be able to find right now. Sorry, I must have put it somewhere else. But it's got a little thermal switch that goes over the top of it that never works right anymore. So I just jumpered it out and removed it. The way that you jumper it out is, damn it, is you just twist these two little wires together right here. These are the two that the thermal switch is actually making. I just twisted them together and taped it off, or put some shrink tube on it and stick it down in there and remove that thing. It's just too unreliable. This one has its original choke in it. Looks like one right out of an ART-13. It's got the original, most everything in it's original. It's very, 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 very good. I'm really impressed with it. It's really quite a nice unit. That is a 30S-1. The other one looks just like it. The only difference between the one I have in the basement that I use right now is I put 866s in there because I don't know why. I got bucket loads of 3B28s and they all seem to work. It is wired for 240 volts or 230 or whatever you want to call it nowadays. And I'm really pleased with it. It certainly does. It still does the legal limit. You know, you got to remember that these things were built in the days where amateur radio operators were limited to power input. And the reason for that is everybody was able to measure plate voltage and plate current. And you multiply the two together and you get power. Voltage times current is power in DC, assuming no reactance. And of course we go there. We're not going to go into impedance now. I don't want to digress into that, but that's the way the FCC required us to limit our power. Well, nowadays it's 1,500 watts PEP output. Well, believe me, this guy will do it. It's not rated like that because it wasn't built in an era where it could be rated like that, but it will most certainly do it. This thing is heavy. It technically only weighs 160 pounds. I weigh 175 pounds, and I'm not a big guy. I can't believe this thing is lighter than me. This thing feels like a freight train when I try to pick it up. Okay, let me put the cover back on it. It is all warmed up. It goes back on there pretty easy. Let's zoom out as far as we can. We are zoomed out. There we go. How about that? Okay. Let's close the cover up. I have got a fly in here that must die. This fly is driving me crazy. Here we gotta lock it down. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I want to show you this. Collins did an exceedingly good job at this. There's a switch right here, and there's also a switch right here that does two things. If you open this door with it powered up, or if you open this lid with it powered up, it does two things. It immediately disconnects the primary AC lead coming into the transformer, into the high voltage transformer, to shut the power off, and at the same time it dead shorts the high voltage to ground. It does both at the same time, and it's very effective. Even if you turn this, even if you open these doors up, I'm not going to do it to show you, but you just get a little tiny pop. It does so good. The bleeder resistors are so effective. It's just an absolutely stunning, beautiful design, the way that they protect the operator. You just can't kill yourself with this thing unless you're determined. And that's a good thing, right? I do. I take actually quite a bit of precaution in my own, but that double action of those two switches, by both disconnecting the primary AC input to the high voltage transformer and grounding the DC output of the power supply at the same time, is just an excellent design. Okay, it's all warmed up. Let me show you what you measure here. You measure filament voltage. Got that set at 6. And then we measure bias voltage, which is about 20, 24, well, that's like 5, whatever it is. it's in the normal range. It's a little bit less than 40 volts, but what you do is you set the bias voltage so that when it's operating you get 200 milliamps of resting plate current. Tuning and loading, of course, isn't doing anything right now. The reason that the scale is up here and it has a negative side to it is because of the screen supply. Screen current can be negative, and that's perfectly alright, and it will turn negative at some point during its loading process. Grid current should always be 0. It can make a milliamp. Even iMac says you can run a milliamp or so during tune-up, but you can't sustain it. Screen current should not really. This is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 milliamps. Screen current, you have to look at the iMac data sheet for it. It shouldn't be over about 20 or 30 milliamps, I think. And plate voltage. Well, we don't have any now, but if I press this right here, since it's all warmed up, we got it in single sideband. There's our 3,000 volts. And of course everything else is still 0. And we're into a dummy load. And I'm using a very small little exciter here. It's a Tentec Argosy. Pretty little radio. Quite accurate. It's really quite a nice radio. And we're into a dummy load, of course. And I've got it tuned up. I've got the drive at about half. So, whoops, excuse me. So the drive is not anything outrageous. And we turn it on here. Watch the output meter. And there's kilowatt. Just a little bit over kilowatt. That's what I've tuned it up for. 1,000 watts of carrier output. There's our screen current. It's actually minus 10 milliamps. Plate voltage drops to, in this case, 2600. The plate voltage across the tube is actually the sum of the plate of this plate voltage plus the screen. The screen's affixed at 200. There is a mod, so to speak. It's not a Collins mod. Let's go. Grid current 0. Tuning and loading is a little bit negative right now. That's not a big deal. Bias voltage again and all this stuff is still the same. Let's turn it off so we don't overheat our dummy load for no good reason. But this thing will put out 1,000 watts and it hardly even knows that it's on. The other one that I have is, if I show you it, it'll just be a duplicate of this one. On the back, let's see, what do they have on the back? Is there anything exciting on the back? I can feel the heat coming out of there. I can't show you right now. Let me see if I have a thermal. Let me show you what the temperature is, what it rose to during that little bit of time. 125 degrees, whatever. RF input, ALC. I do run ALC because I drive mine with a KWM2A, and of course the antenna relay. RF output. This one has been changed. Somebody changed this one. It used to be, it originally came as an N, but somebody changed this one to a UHF or an SO239 or whatever thunderation you want to call it, and they did an okay job. When I got it, it was missing about a bajillion screws. Yeah, pulling that tray out that I was talking about, you only want to take these two screws out right here. This one and this one. I think I'm going to put a little dot beside it of some fingernail polish or something so I can remember. You got to pull it, and these are a pain. These are a real pain to get back in because you have to lay inside of it. You have to kind of get the front one started. Hope you know what I'm talking about. I got to show you this. This is really important if you're going to work on one of these beasts. See, now, like right now, if I'm not paying attention, I may not even, because I'm busy talking to you guys on YouTube, I may forget that I got 3,000 volts on this thing right now, and if I open this thing up, it'll go right off. But I'm going to be smart and turn it off, and the voltage dropped to 0. Look how fast this thing bleeds down. Okay, there's 3,000. There you go. Completely safe to open it. Yeah, there's 2 screws right here, and there's 3 screws right here. And you got to take those out. You got to pull some of this stuff off to get at it. And then those 2 in the back, and that's how you pull this unit right here out. You got to pull your tubes out too down there. And then be kind of careful. You got to disconnect the AC line from it too. And that's, I'd say that's 99% of where your work is going to be done in repairing worthy, putting it back in. Whoops, I must not have the door closed right. Well, it won't turn back on. I bet I don't have the door closed all the way, do I? There we go. See there? See how good that thing is? That's our 3,000 volts. There's nothing wrong with leaving it like that. I mean, there's no sense in leaving it like that for long periods of time. If you're going to walk away from it, you just... And then you're bypassed so that you're running the your radio straight through it to the antenna without the amplifier. Beautiful piece of equipment. Wow. Man, I wanted one of these since I was 12 years old. That's 60 years ago, huh? Time passes fast, gentlemen and ladies out there, so do the best you can to enjoy. Now, I'm going to stop it right now, but I've still got to show you this guy right here. This little thing right here is a beauty. Okay, now for an equally beautiful piece of equipment. Just isn't that thing pretty? It looks like a baby one of those. And it is. Except it ain't a baby. I'm here to tell you. Watch this. Here's the on switch. Look at those guys light up dead in there. I've got this loose so I can take it off. It has interlock switches on it too. It has one right there. So you can't turn the power on. It's got a pair of 3-400Zs in chimneys and everything. It's got the classic B&W 800 plate choke. Nice inductor. There's the tuning capacitor. The loading capacitor, I guess, is underneath it. Band switches right down in there. I didn't have to do too much to this one either. I don't remember exactly what I had to do to them. I just do it. And don't even remember a lot of it sometimes. I gotta put this light back on there because it's really important to see clearly. Sorry for all the wiggling around, but doing the best I can here. This is a multimeter right here. I'll put the lid on it and show you in a minute. It measures a grid current, and when you press that little bitty black button right there under the meter right here, that's where you measure plate voltage. And here's the plate current. I made some notes on the front. I did it on the 30S-1 too, of reasonable places to start for tuning and loading for 40 and 20 meters, which is the only thing I've tuned it up on. Let's open it up. It doesn't have a key. You just pull it off right here. But it does have an interlock. It's got a little interlock switch right there. And it's got the 3B28s. Power transformer. A couple of relays. You know, these are time relays. Got a 115 NO 180, just like the this one right here. Just like the 30S-1. Then it's got another 6 NO 2, another 2-second delay. And 3B28s, I've put the MV rectifiers, I've put the whatever, the solid state was in there. They all perform the same. Got a nice blower in there. Now, you know, when I started reading blogs about this, people just complained and complained and complained about the noise from this thing right here. Well, it's on right now. Do you hear it? You may hear the my air conditioner running, but this thing makes no noise. It's as quiet as the 30S-1. I don't get what they were complaining about. You can see up there how they connect it. See, they got that milling connector right there in the middle for the high voltage. They got a connector right there on the left for whatever, and then the AC on the right going through some filter. Really, really nice job. Really nice job. Really nice amplifier. This is an old one, just a 2K. They made a 2KD that had this RF unit that sat on your desk, and then it had the power supply as a separate unit that like sat underneath the your desk down on the floor. Let's put the covers back on it right quick, and power it up and show you. Actually, this one right here, if you look at this note right here, it was actually checked out and said that it was in good condition back in his 2013. So this one has been very, very well taken care of. Just really nice stuff. Let's see, what do I do with the lid? Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on. All right, we gotta bolt it down here so that the switches make good contact and it'll power up. You do all this. You know, another thing that I've noticed is this thing right here, this gray cover and the perforation and everything looks exactly like the Collins S-line stuff. Let's turn this light off. That's a little overwhelming. And I believe now we can put, so you turn it in, 2 seconds later, click, it comes on. The high voltage actually comes up, and we measure the high voltage by pressing this, and it says it's about 2800. I'm not going to load this one up because it's not been connected, but it does the same thing. It's a little bit harder to drive because it's a grounded grid, but no big deal. This thing quickly puts out 1,000 watts. Even being driven with this little guy right here, which its maximum power is rated at 50 watts. So you can still drive this one to right at 1,000 watts with less than 50 watts drive. Beautiful little amplifier. I'm really impressed with it. I think I'm charmed by it, particularly because I can see the tubes lit up in there with the plate voltage on. And you don't see, they're biased off right now, so you don't see any red in the plate or anything. And when you close the antenna switch or the push to talk switch or whatever you want to call it, it shows a little bit of orange. It's a very safe looking orange, very normal looking. I just feel like I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world when it comes to being able to work with these guys. Is in the last few weeks I've been able to work with, of course, the Henry 2K, the 30S-1, and the second 30S-1 that you can't tell from this one. It's a higher serial number for whatever reason. I mean, it was obviously made later, but it does the same thing and had to do the same things to it. I probably should show you the schematics of what I found that I had to do to bring it back to full operating condition. Okay, there's more than one version of this 30S-1. This is the newer one where they replaced that 12AL5 tube with the solid state diodes. That's a service bulletin. Neither of the two that I have that service bulletin in it. There's three: SB1, SB2, and SB3. Both have SB1 and 2. But the blue things, excuse me, blue. That's not blue. That's yellow. The yellow highlighter in there are the components I changed in it. These diodes and these capacitors. I changed that one just because it was there. Even though what I have back here is the tube version, the 12AL5 version. Let me show you here. So you may actually have that one. That's this one right here, but it's still that capacitor right there. This is what I have, both of them, and I don't see a need to update it. I had to change this diode and capacitor right here. All the rest of them are just little .001. They're either resonant type capacitors. You don't want to mess with those unless you really have to. And those would be band specific anyway. 3B28s. One of the things they say to do is to change these main fuses. I don't see them in here right now, from 12 amp to 15 amp. And I changed this right here. That's that goofy little thermal overload switch that swings over the top. It's a little switch that swings over the top, and it's measuring the output, the temperature of the output to air from this guy. I think it's a grand idea, but they become defective and there's really no way to repair them, so I just remove it and I jumpered it out. So I marked it out, cut these 2 wires, and so that one's just been eliminated. And these electrolytic capacitors and these diodes, I changed. They were normally 1 in 4005. I think changed them to 1 in 4007. See, this is a 600 volt 1 amp. Changed it to 1000 volt 1 amp. Who cares? It works. It's very simple. The thing is rock solid. But these old diodes right here, I don't know why they put such goofy diodes in there for the bias supply, but they did. So you got to get rid of them. And you know, like I say, this is the older model with the 12AL5 and these are just you have to look through a lot of you have to look through a lot of different schematics to find the one that you might have, depending on its serial number, you know, when it was made and what Collins did to it. And this is just some under these 2, 3, this just capacitor, etc. This was a service bulletin way back when. I think all of them have that, and I didn't have to do anything to that. So there is it in a nutshell. Here's Service Bulletin 1. You can get all these from the Collins Collectors Net. Service Bulletin 2 and 3. Well, anyway, I think that's the single sideband amplifier to have. It runs one of these beauties. I built, I've shown videos of mine. I wrote right here, good. 11/13/2021, Collins 30S-1. I don't want it to be thrown in the garbage can. Oh, here's something else that the good gentleman gave me. Isn't it a beauty? This is that antenna tuner. There's a 180S1, which is this one is, of course. This has got the round emblem. There's also a 180S3. Now the 3 has got a big, huge connector on it that's auto-tuning, and it has an inductor that's loaded onto a ceramic form that rolls off onto a silver-plated form. I don't know if you want that one or not, but this thing will, I think this will match anything from I think this will match 160 meters to your refrigerator. The only thing I've tested it on so far is 80 and 40 meters. But if you want 50 ohm output, this is the center connector of your SO239, and this is the ground connector. So, you know, if you want to destroy the collectability of it, you could actually drill a hole right there or right there and mount an SO239, but I'm not going to do that. So all you got to do is put this little jumper on, and then you could put up some kind of little jig right here maybe for the SO239 to plug your PL259 in and tune your antenna C and etc. There are some really nice articles out on the internet about this guy right here, about this antenna tuner. If anybody, if you can get one of these for, you know, for less than about $1 million or something, whatever they're asking for them nowadays, then that's the only antenna tuner you'll probably ever need. Well, anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I have been working on these recently, and I've had a lot of fun with them. I feel very fortunate to get one for fixing a couple, and they actually turned out pretty good. So stay safe, my friends, and thank you for watching.